Does anyone want to share what articles they've written in English or any homework they've done in English?
Can I have a question?
Yes.
So how about the mix? Because when I was in the university, I always using the writing the article that mix with Chinese and English because I never translate some vocabulary to Chinese. So I write some mixed article. Do you think that's kind of English article?
I think it counts.
So
if it has English in it, it counts a little bit. Depends how much English. If we're talking one word, I'll actually show you. In this presentation, I have an example of an article. You guys can even see, I have two examples. And one of them, a lot of history articles for China use a mix of Chinese and English because a lot of Chinese words don't translate well. So they will toss that into Chinese and then try to explain the message behind it. But I think it still kind of counts. It depends if you were talking 5% English, 95% Chinese, probably just a Chinese article. We're talking 50-50, maybe you can swing it that way. But you guys, what kind of English homework have you done up to this point? I want to get an understanding of what English you guys have used. You guys have done fill in the blanks, right? I've seen the tests you guys do in Taiwan. You do fill in the blanks. You do A, B, C, D. Have you ever written an essay? Have you ever written a paper of words? Raise your hands if you have. Okay. Have you ever written a story? A story, just like 2 or 3 pages about anything you wanted in English. Okay, that still counts. Have you written a conversation? Some of you are nodding. All right. Let's see. Let's pick on someone. Pick on someone new. Who is new? We have 4 people who are new. I think, right? We should. Let me see. Hold up. Arthur, I know you are new, but here, just for the sake of my memory, can you move this to the second one, September 8th? Okay. Sorry. I think it's you and another who have made the same mistake. So I'll just quickly correct that. Just scratch out the first one and move it over to 8th September for attendance. So we have Arthur and what was your name? Simon. So I think you have the same mistake? No problem. You're just going to scratch it out and move the check mark. Perfect. Thank you very much. So where was your name? Oh, you're not back. Oh, I didn't even know there was a back. You're teaching me things already. Thank you. Okay. So, Simon, I'll pick on you. What is one English homework you've done in the past? One writing you've done? Pick the most memorable.
Writing a story.
Writing a story. When did you do that?
About when I was elementary school, 6th grade.
And you still remember it?
I still because it's really memorable.
Do you have it still?
Maybe at my home.
Do you want to bring it next week?
I think I have to find a little bit because I don't know where.
Okay. Was it good?
I wrote a story about a fisherman and a magic fish.
Okay. I'm surprised you remember so much. That's excellent. All right. Today we're going to be focusing more on the academic writing. So I noticed some of you earlier were looking at articles or looking at academic papers. English always has a set structure for writing something for school. You're writing something academic. What does academic mean? Does anyone know? Academic. You guys can write it down. It's a great word. You will probably see it in university. AC. If anyone wants to. I don't have it up here. It's ACADEMIC. Academic. It means related to school. So this is, instead of something for fun, this is something to teach a lesson. So it's academic writing. So we're going to move on and kind of go through what we're going to talk about today. Once again, I have an outline. I don't have a goal listed for this PowerPoint. I do apologize. But our main goal for today is working on your thesis. What is a thesis? We're going to tell you in a few minutes. So we'll wait on that question. But first, we're going to go through different forms of writing. We've already started. We've started asking you guys what writing you have done in the past. I'm going to give you some academic articles you might write. I'm going to show you what some of them are and briefly introduce them to you. Then we're going to go through how to start writing an essay. I say essay here, but really what we are going to do is talk about a thesis. And a thesis, we'll explain it. And we're just going to keep using it so you remember it though for the meantime. A thesis is what you will argue. It is used in almost every form of academic writing. Every form of academic writing has a thesis, even if you don't know. We have some examples, then we're going to go through how you create one. Then we have a little checklist for things you should do to make sure your thesis is strong or good. Then we're going to do some group work and talk about introductions in papers. Introductions is the last thing. It's not this one. It's a different introduction. It's an introduction for actual papers or articles. This introduction is for this PowerPoint. So basically, what kind of writing should you be expected to do? Oh, I didn't know I showed you the maps when I did that. Cool. Okay. See, we are learning things. What kind of writing should you be expected to do in university? We've already talked about that. All right. How many of you guys have written an English article for university? In a university class, have you had to write in English before? Raise your hands. With a show of hands, who has had to? No one. This is the goal for EMI. EMI, we talked about it last time, is English as a medium of instruction. Do you guys remember the other EMI course we had? ESAP, English for specific academic purposes. So both of these want you to use English to write. This is the end goal. If you can use English to share information, you're in a strong position. There's two facets to this. There's two parts, both the speaking and the writing part. These are the two most difficult things for language learning. Last time I told you guys about how I did French for 10, 12 years. You remember? I can't speak any French now. My French is horrible. I can read it and I can understand a lot. Cannot speak any. My Chinese is better than my French for speaking now. My reading is not better. Speaking is, because I use it more. Writing, similar thing. You just need to push yourself to do it. But we're going to show you how. Here are different types of writing you might have to do. Who do I want to pick on for this? Let's see. Crystal, where's Crystal? Crystal, read me the first one. Actually, read me all 5 of them.
Essays, lab reports, SWOT analysis.
Yep, perfect.
Marketing plans, book reviews.
Perfect, excellent. So we have essays. What is an essay? It's not a trick question. Does anyone know? Let's pick on Amru. Any idea?
It's like the scientific writing.
Could be. It could be scientific, yeah. Essay is a bit broad. It could be scientific, it could be historical, could be even a marketing plan. Marketing plan isn't. But a SWOT analysis is kind of like an essay. An essay is you are presenting information and you are trying to convince someone of something. What does convince mean? Convince means make them agree, make them say, yes, I think so too. That is what you're doing with an essay. A lab report, you are also trying to convince someone of something. You are trying to convince them, my experiment is good. I did what I should. The results are accurate. I am honest. You can copy me and you will see the same stuff. A lab report, you are also convincing them. A SWOT analysis. This is for marketing / economics. Does anyone know what a SWOT analysis is? You want it?
I don't know the detail, but I know that for some field, if you want to do anything, you need to analyze your strong points, weak points, and your defined targets like that.
Yes, exactly. So SWOT is how we read it, SWOT. SWOT. Strengths, stuff you're good at, things that are good. Weaknesses, things you're weak at. O is opportunities. Opportunities being stuff you can grow into. And then T, I forget what T is actually, I think it's time, but I'm going to check. Threats. I'm totally wrong, it is not time, thank God I checked. Threats, things that might hurt you in the future. This again is just for economics. If you're doing science, you probably won't do a SWOT analysis. If you're doing history, you probably won't. But with a SWOT analysis, you are again trying to convince people what they can do well. You're taking a look at everything and you're trying to arrange the information to help them, to help a company, to help a business. Marketing plans will make use of a SWOT analysis. They will use it, and then they try and give an idea. They're presenting you a course of action. They're saying, you have all these strengths, all these weaknesses, all these blah, blah, blah. So you need to do A, then B, then C, and then you become rich. That's kind of the plan with marketing. Except marketing cannot just be, oh, you should sell more phones and make more money. That's not a plan. That's a goal. It's not a plan. The last one, book reviews. Oh, I can actually give you an example of a marketing plan that I read when I was in university. Basically in Canada, there was this company in the 90s, I think, which made jam. Does anyone know what jam is? It's fruits that you put on bread. What is the Chinese, Simon? Perfect, thank you. Is that just gochujang? Okay, so now we all know what it is? Comfortable? It's stuff you put on bread, it tastes sweet. In Canada, in the 90s, a company that made jam was doing very poorly. So they did a SWOT analysis, they did a marketing plan, and then they decided, hey, we'll change our jam, and we'll make it better, and then we'll say on the front of it, it has 95% real fruit. So all the parents were like, whoa, it's real fruit. I can give my kids it, and I won't kill them. Great. And the company became the best-selling jam in Canada. It's also, true fact, I've had the jam in Taiwan. I can't eat it. I don't like it. It tastes so different. If you ever go to Canada, try the jam. It's sweet, but it's amazing. Thanks to this company. But they went through the marketing plans. They prepared a report. Book reviews are the very last things. Depending on your field, if you're in social studies or humanities, you will be doing a lot of these. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's a book review. You will read a book, and then you will take the ideas of the book, you will find out what the book is saying, and you will compare it to other books. So let's say you have one book about COVID-19 and the after effects. If you get COVID-19, you have this problem. You will read this book, you will read 2 other books, and then you compare them. Is this one good? Why or why not? And again, you are convincing people if it is good or bad. You're saying this book is good because they do an excellent study. They have a lot of examples. They explain it well. Again, you're convincing. All of these writing forms boil down, they come down to one thing. You need to convince someone of your thoughts. You need to make people who read it go, oh, this makes sense. That's all you need to do for writing. Make them believe you. But there is a structure to it. And that structure comes in the form of a thesis. This is the first thing you need to figure out. And your thesis, we're going to have someone read it for me again. Let's pick on, who do I want to pick on? Joyce, you're leaving us shortly. I'll pick on you first, I'm sorry. Just what is a thesis?
Okay, that is your agreement or you will put in your essay?
Yeah, a thesis is what you're arguing. In English, you need to clearly tell us your thesis. I think this because of A, B, C. This is what this paper will prove using A, B, C. I've taught this before. I've tried teaching this before to middle school. And a lot of the students don't know how to fully state their argument. I was talking to my friend as well, and they told me in Chinese, when you guys write an essay, you don't have the same section here. Where should you put the thesis in English? Does anyone have an idea? When should you tell people what you want to say? Beginning, middle, or end? Beginning? Raise your hands for beginning. Okay, raise your hands for middle. Raise your hands for end. Raise your hand for never. All right, good. So at least we're going to tell them at some point. The thesis you want to say at the beginning. You want your thesis not the very first thing you say, but you say it early on. You also bring it back up at the end. You use it at the beginning to give direction to your article. And then at the end, you summarize everything together once more. Just to remind them, saying like, hey, in case I lost you, this is what I wanted you to remember. That's how you bring it up at the end. Today we're going to kind of read through a few examples. Let me see if I can get this back. Where did, okay, here we go. Let's see. I'm assuming you guys have some experience with a thesis. But a thesis is your argument, why you're writing this, what you think is going to happen. And then why this is important. You have to give them a reason to want to read it. So, let's go through this one. Now this is one essay I read in university. This is a Chinese history essay. Whodunit is not proper spelling, but they used it in the title, so they got away with it. Don't copy them. Bad writing. Anyways, I've highlighted a few things here. This is their introduction, and one of these highlights is their thesis. They use a lot of big words, so we're going to kind of go through it together. It starts here, and then I think it goes down here. But we're just going to read the highlighted parts. So this paper examines the background consequences and implications of Song Binbin's apology from a political science cum memory studies perspective. It's looking at this event using political science and memory, how people remember it. It looks at both her attempt to talk about the death of Bian Zhongyun, the then vice principal of the school, during an event in January 2014. And they titled her talk, Coming to Terms with Cultural Revolution and Refusing to Forget. And then there was a debate, basically an argument about it. This is telling us what time we are talking about. This is not her thesis, this is just what she's going to talk about. Her actual thesis is over here. We're going to jump down to in contrast. In contrast to these publications, I want you guys to put a little box around this in your paper. This is her thesis. Now this is a university PhD level thesis. It's scary, and it takes a lot of practice to get to. You can do an easier thesis than this. But first, just draw a box behind this in contrast. So in contrast. How is the highlight showing up in your guys' package? Can you see it? Oh, it's very tiny. I do apologize. So we're going to go from in contrast to these publications. What she's going to prove, we focus on the political implications, bunch of gibberish, don't worry about that word, and see the debate surrounding Song Bingbing's apology. As an important, please circle important, battleground for the power struggle. Important battleground for the power struggle. And then it's an important battleground for the power struggle, meaning a fight. There's a fight between the Chinese CCP, you can underline or circle once again, and society. And then please put a line here, another little bracket. That is what she's trying to argue. She is trying to argue that using Song Bingbing's event, we can see it's a power struggle. There's a fight between these two parties. I know there's a lot of big words here, and I know it's a lot of writing, and it's a lot of reading. We're going to simplify it. All she is saying, this event shows there's a fight. That's all she's saying. She's using a lot of words to say it, but that is the core argument. Then we have this section. We're not done our sentence yet. We have this. And these things are the proof she is going to use. This is what she's going to talk about in the article, in the essay. She's going to go through all of this in more detail. So we have, right away, the thesis is what she wants to tell us. Then we have how she's going to show us. This is how she will convince us. It's a lot to wrap your head around, I do know. Don't worry, just take it slow. All right? The more you see them, the more you talk about them, the easier it gets. Let's quickly read through this. Those who rely on social, actually, do I want to translate this basically? Yeah, so she's going to be talking about people in the environment, in society, workers. She's going to talk about the government, administration. And she's going to be talking about those who the government left behind. How all three of these groups show this problem. So she's going to walk us through how people understood Song Bingbing's argument. But you just need to see the structure. Thesis, proof. This one is a bit easier, I hope. This is a science article. The title, Age-Related Muscle Anabolic Resistance, Inevitable or Preventable. A few big words. What this is talking about, though, is as you become older, what happens to your body? As you get older, you get weaker. You lose muscle. That's what this is talking about. He's saying, is it inevitable? Meaning, will we always lose muscle as we get older? Or can we prevent it? That's the title. Can he stop us losing muscle? That's what this article is going to review. And this is a lab report / essay. So they've done actually an experiment. They've asked people to do certain things, and then they've studied them. And his thesis is down here. Instead of saying we, he said this review aimed to address the key factors and contextual elements involved in the reduction of the acute muscle protein synthesis response associated with aging. So here we have, this is the thesis. You can put a bracket here. And then you can put it down here. He has a longer thesis. I want you guys, though, take a second. Take like 2 minutes. Actually, I'll give you 4 minutes. Read it with those you're sitting with. Discuss it and see if you can tell me what it means. What is he trying to show us? Does he think it is preventable? Does he think it is inevitable? Take some time. You guys can discuss it once again in Chinese if it's easier, or English if it's easier. And then you will share your ideas with me. See if you can find out what it is arguing. If there are words that are confusing, please raise your hand and let me know. I know there are a bunch. I will try my best to explain it in simpler terms. Once again, we are all sitting with a variety of people. Make use of those around you. We are all in the same boat. Don't be nervous about asking them. You should be able to just read the highlighted portion. If you just read the highlighted section, even though it's hard, you should be able to take a look at it and break it down. I know it's scary, guys, but talk, make friends. That's what university is for. So this is the full thesis. There's two things in the thesis. There's the argument and there's the proof. I want you to find what is the argument.
If you can just choose that, you can say that it's inevitable. As you can you can discuss why these sections.
Guys, what is he What is he trying to convince us of? Where did it share? Where did it show that? There's two parts in the thesis, remember? There's the argument and there's the proof. Which one is the argument? Very difficult word, yes. Yeah, so that's the proof. I walk you guys through what the meaning said. I know it's hard, but the first section is going to be the argument. So we'll talk about it. All right. Do you guys have anything? What is he trying to argue? Yeah. No, that's okay. We're going to take it up in a minute. I just want to see where you all are. Did you guys come up with anything? Good. Yes, exactly right. Can I see yours? That's okay. Don't worry. Did you guys discuss it at all?
This is my view.
Okay. Okay, we'll discuss it. Don't worry. All right. So we have some people got it, which is good. If you didn't, don't worry. Again, these are PhD people writing these reports. Not only that, they are PhD people who are natives in English. Don't push yourselves and don't stress yourselves out too much. We'll talk about it, we'll guide you. When you're in class and you don't understand, who do you talk to? When you're in class, if you get one of these and you don't understand, who can you talk to? Friend. Who else? Teacher. Who else? TA. Who else? Find a random native on the internet and ask them. There are various resources you can use. You just have to pick yourself up and force yourself to. It's a long road, but you have to try. So here, we have a few people who gave me the proper answer. Basically, up until here. Up until the first period here. This is the thesis. So this review is aimed, blah, 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 blah. Response associated with aging and its varied consequences. Up to here. Put 2 brackets, 1, 2. This first sentence is the argument. This is what they want to prove. And in this first sentence, what they are saying is, you can stop losing all your muscle. You don't need to become super weak. You will lose some, but you can slow it. You can stop it sometimes. And then here, practical intervention, this section, the rest of it, is how. This is how they are going to show us this. So the first sentence is the argument. Let's see, does this work? So from here down to here is the argument. This is what they want us to remember. This is what he's trying to convince us. Then from here down to here is what he will show us. He says, dietary protein manipulation. Fancy word. Dietary, meaning what you eat. Protein, what is protein in Chinese? You can also just say, can't you also just say, no, that's muscle. Okay, I'm confusing muscle and protein. All right, danbaiji. Right? Protein, stuff you use to make muscles. And manipulation means control. By controlling how much protein you eat, you make yourself better. And supplementation, taking extra stuff to help your body. And physical activity. He's going to go through these 3 things to show you how you cannot lose so much muscle. And he's going to talk about various reports while doing so. So these 2 are, again, PhD level theses. I doubt I could write one as good as these. These are just 2 ultimate end goals. We have a lot of easier examples coming up. So how do we create a thesis? We've looked at 2 theses. How do we create one now? We need to come up with an argument, and we need to outline what our paper will do. Again, we are using the word outline. We talked about that on Tuesday. You structure your whole presentation or essay in 1 or 2 sentences. In these 2, the outline is this part, where he tells us what he will use to show this. He tells us he's going to go through protein, he's going to go through supplements, and he's going to go through physical activity. He tells us what we're going to see in his essay. A little trick as well. If you are doing an essay on physical activity, you can read his essay, except if you look here, You know, you just need to look at the second part. So a thesis also helps you skim. It helps you find information you need faster, right? We'll talk about that next week a bit more. And a thesis helps show your reader where your information is. So how do you make your own thesis though? What kind of stuff do you need to ask yourself? Any ideas of questions you should ask yourself? Hint, it's on the next slide. When you're creating a thesis, you want to figure out your purpose. Why are you writing this? What information do you want to share with people? If you're doing a history essay, you're not going to tell us about protein. After you figure out what kind of information you want to share, your purpose, are you trying to show people a better way to live healthily? Are you trying to show people what food they shouldn't eat? Are you trying to tell people that dogs are better than cats? Yes, your thesis can be that simple. Probably not in any of your classes, but that's still a thesis, right? Then you need to figure out your topic. How will you write about it? Let's see. What subject is it going to be? Are you going to write about America and England fighting each other? If you do that, you're not going to talk about China. You're not going to talk about Taiwan. America and England, this is a long time ago, guys. I saw some people looking terrified. They're not going to fight each other right now. Unless they're playing football and America loses. They probably won't fight each other. Are you talking about a new cell that helps fight against COVID-19? You need to figure out who will likely read this and what your topic is. Last time we talked about presentations, making them simple. You saw with our earlier examples of theses, academic writing isn't very simple. It can be, but it's not necessary. Because the audience is different. You want to tailor it for a higher level. And the last one, you need to figure out what support you are going to use. What things will you talk about in your article to prove this? Again, we just used the example of the protein one. Right? He talked about protein, he talked about, I'm blanking already, physical activity, and supplements. This one talked about 3 different groups of people as their proof. They are going to use these to give you examples of why this is true. If you do a lab report, you're going to take specific data you found out. If you do a math report, maybe you'll have specific questions.